It's time for Peptide Talk, featuring Garrett Pope. Now, here is your host, Joe Zapata.
What's up, guys? Joe Zapata here for Peptide Talk. We got a great show for you today. We're going to be talking about MOTS-C. That's going to be our peptide of the week, but we're also going to talk about bodybuilding stuff too, some bodybuilding news around the world. And I got my man here, my co-host Garrett Pope. How you doing, Garrett?
What's up, man?
What is going on? Also, guys, if you can, please go to equipfoods.com. Use promo code JerseyJZ and get the best protein around. I use it. It has they got vanilla, chocolate. They even got coffee now. They got creatine. They got gummies. Great shop. Go to equipfoods.com. Use promo code JerseyJZ for 15% off your order. All right, Garrett. So let's get into it right now, my man. We got to talk about first a bodybuilder. 22-year-old bodybuilder passed away. I don't know if you saw it. I sent it to you. Hold on. Let me just get the post right up here. Give me a second. Switching it up here. There we go. There it is. 22-year-old bodybuilder from Brazil. He passed away, found dead in his apartment. He was an influencer. His name was Gabriel Ganley, I think his name was. Gabriel Ganley. 22 years old. Now, they are saying it's from hypertrophic cardiomyopathy, whatever it is, the heart attack. But the rumors I keep hearing is insulin. You know, 22-year-old kids don't just pass out and die. But in the bodybuilding world, if they're using something else, that tends to it. What did you hear about this story? What do you know about it?
Well, I'd be interested to know if he was COVID vaxxed.
That's true.
That's where my mind goes to right away with anybody when I see that age or anybody under 60 even that I see dying now. My mind right away goes to COVID vax. But if it had nothing to do with that, listen, insulin, we talked about it last week, and I even said I would never touch insulin for other reasons, but you see more people dropping or having problems because of insulin or becoming early diabetics because of insulin than anybody else. I wouldn't mess around with it. There's always rumors out there. It could be insulin, it could be this, it could be that.
You've never tried it all.
Obviously, the people that know nothing right away are going to turn around and go, steroids. Steroids did not kill him at 22 years old. I'm sorry. No. It just didn't. Okay. The uneducated will say that because they don't know any better. Okay. The uneducated are also mostly COVID vaxxed, but that's a whole separate, story. But anyway, that could be insulin. That could be, to look at him, he doesn't look that overly massive or overly developed or over that to me doesn't even, it could be insulin, but that doesn't even look like an insulin type build. You know what I mean? That excessive, I don't know. If you look right there, to look at him, that doesn't look that overly what I would call developed or overly muscular or overly, it looks good, we're not going to sit here and pick apart his flaws. I'm just saying he looks good. But at the same time, I don't know. You don't know what he looked like beforehand. He might have been 110 pounds and he needed insulin to get to that size. You know what I'm trying to say? Yeah. We don't know that,
Yeah. And that gives me a next point into insulin. We brought up this article before, and the famous bodybuilder Milos Service, he said that insulin, he's the one who introduced insulin into bodybuilding, right? Is there a place for insulin in bodybuilding, Garrett? Do you think? What do you think about this?
Is there a place for it? Absolutely. As he explains, so he said here, it could become one of the strongest anabolic tools for muscle growth.
Okay.
He went on to expand on this and say he introduced it in a safe, studied way. He studied everything about it. He used it in safe dosages. He used it in very controlled dosages. Okay. He didn't use it just half-ass. And so he did his homework. Now there's going to be people out there that are going to jump on this right away and go, whoa, he didn't introduce insulin to bodybuilding. Tim Belknap did. Remember Tim Belknap?
Yes,
the
yes,
bodybuilder?
yes.
Okay.
Yes.
And a lot of people are going to say he did. No, there's a difference. If you know, Tim Belknap was the first bodybuilder to have to use insulin. He was diabetic, okay?
Okay.
He was a diabetic bodybuilder. He was diabetic beforehand. He was on insulin. Doctor prescribed insulin because he was a diabetic. So he didn't introduce insulin usage to bodybuilding. He used it because he had to use it, okay? It wasn't, he was the first one, Milos was the first one to introduce it to the masses, okay? To bring it into bodybuilding, to introduce it to the masses in bodybuilding. Does it have a place for it? Of course it does. Any bodybuilder, out there that's used it is going to say, oh my God, I couldn't have done that without this and blah, 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 blah. Me personally, again, I would never, the risk is not worth the reward.
Yes, exactly.
I
know people who become diabetic. People, after they take it, become diabetic.
Exactly. So in my opinion, so that's worth being diabetic for the rest of your life. For example, diabetes in my family my father has it, my grandmother had it. Why would I want to take a chance when it was genetically, you know what I mean? It's something you wouldn't mess around with. Me personally, I understand they keep pushing the envelope. Listen, he did it very controlled, but even in a controlled, studied manner, I still wouldn't go near insulin. I just wouldn't.
Yep. 100%. Another story I wanted to talk about is Tom Platz. Tom Platz, he had the best legs around when we were all the bodybuilding. And he said he made a $100 million mistake by rejecting 50% ownership in a deal with Gold's Gym for $20,000 back in 1979. Isn't that crazy? He could have owned Gold's Gym.
Here's the story behind it. Okay. So in 1979, he made, as his first year as a pro bodybuilder, $40,000, which you think back in 1979, that's a lot of money.
Yeah.
Okay? Now that'd be nothing. But back in 1979, as a pro bodybuilder, $40,000, wow. I mean, he was living big. So he was offered, at the time, there was one Gold's Gym out in Venice, okay, California. And he was offered half stake in it, 50% ownership. And all that he said was, listen, you give me $20,000, you will have half stake in Gold's Gym. There's big plans. Maybe we're going to open more. Maybe we're going to eventually franchise. But there's big plans for this. But you will have half stake ownership in this gym and whatever else we do going forward. Instead, he chose to take his money and buy a classic 1960 Corvette.
Okay.
Wow, what a mistake that was. He would be a billionaire now. He would be a billionaire. And instead, he bought a 1960 classic Corvette, and he's not a billionaire. And he admits it himself. It's the worst mistake, the biggest mistake he's ever made in his life. Okay. Yeah. Just absolutely. I mean, that's you've heard about the in the past, like mistakes. Hulk Hogan, for example, he was offered the George Foreman grill before George Foreman.
Correct.
Hulk Hogan passed on it. He turned right. Oh, that sounds ridiculous. I don't want any part of that. That's all right. Passed on it. It was offered to George Foreman. We all know what happened, how big the George Foreman grill took off. It could be the Hulk Hogan grill. So that's a mistake, but that's not a $1 billion mistake like Gold's Gym, And
that was owned by
out on millions, but there's a difference.
Yep. I mean, I talked to Ed Connors, and I don't know if you know Ed Connors. He owned Gold's Gym. He's been on the podcast before. Great guy. And, he told me, the business, because I don't know how much he did very well with that business with Gold's Gym. He did very good. And he knew a lot of the wrestlers.
Remember Mike and Art, Paramus Gold's Gym. That was one Gold's Gym. That was just one individual gym. And they were partners, and they did very good.
They did. What killed them was COVID. COVID killed them. COVID killed that. Yes, that's why it closed.
Okay. See, I was down here then.
You were down there, yes.
Yeah, but I remember they were open. I mean, so they were open until 2020 then.
Correct. And what happened was during the COVID, when all the gyms had to shut down, they were shut down for months. And Artie and Mike said, we cannot sustain this going on like this. We need to open the gym. And they had trying to get some investors to help them out a little bit, but obviously it didn't work out. They couldn't get the funding from the state. They had to close it down.
Wow. And they
So
were open
sad.
for a long time.
Long time,
Yeah.
really long time.
Just out of curiosity, because what happened to them? Did they go, you know, where they're doing now or not?
I still talk to once in a while Mike on Instagram. He posted actually something where they just had their reunion from when they were opening it, maybe a couple of weeks ago, like their 30th reunion from when they opened it the first time in '94 or whatever it was. But Artie, I don't talk to, but I do still once in a while talk to Mike on Instagram.
Okay.
So
No, I was just wondering because, you know, we used to train there all the time. And, you know, like I said, they were there for a long time, you know, and they made great money. So that's another example. That's just one location, Paramus, New Jersey. And they made, you know, they did very, very well. I heard they had a little problem, you know, with their pro shop and their protein shake area. But besides that, I heard they did very, very well.
Yeah, exactly.
You know?
And I know a lot of people have been kicked out of that gym a few times actually because what was going on in the locker room. So we'll leave that for another day.
Yep, I heard about that also, and that was interesting.
Yeah. Another interesting article that we were bringing up here is I'm going to pull it up right now. He says a blood flow supplement has extra perk that gym rats love, Garrett. So what is this about, this article that you found?
All right. I talked about this in the past episodes. The total beets, okay?
Okay.
The beetroot, okay? Beetroot extract, the one I use is total beets. And it's along with lowering blood pressure and a lot of other benefits, it has a nitric oxide effect. So what it does is it improves vascular flow, nitric oxide. It gives you an incredible pump. So I actually use that as part of my pre-workout.
Okay.
And I use that pre-workout, a scoop of it, and it gives you incredible pumps because of the nitric oxide and the pumping it. So that's what that story was about. And I've talked about that before on here, the total beets, the, you know, beetroot extract. And you know, it's got more benefits. And, you know, a lot of people just think sometimes, oh yeah, old people should take that because of this or that. No, it's got a lot of benefits for a lot of different people. And it's a little simple supplement. It's, you know, they come in capsules or powder. I prefer the powder on everything just because I like drinking and I think it's, you know, absorbed by your body quicker, you know. Anything capsules has to be broken down by the liver first and then processed through the body, you know, so.
Yeah. And another article we actually brought up, I'm going to bring up here is MK677. I've taken it before. I really wasn't crazy about it, but CNN is saying a lot of things about it, saying that there's some stopped in MK677 early trial. What is this about? Because it says heart rate issues, heart failure rate.
Yeah, this was you've heard of the enhanced games, correct?
Correct, I have.
Okay, and basically that is, you know, there's no testing. It's gonna be like Olympic Games type thing, and you could be on anything that you want. And the MK677, apparently studies are being done on it, and a lot of bad things are coming out as far as, you know, heart failure and this and that. You know, that's part of the SARMs family that I was never personally really a fan of. You know, let me ask you, you said you used that.
I used MK677. I used that and RAD 140.
Okay, so here's my question for you. Two-part question. One, did you get headaches off of it, and did you get nausea off of it?
I did not, but I did. My hunger went through the roof on MK6, went through the roof, and I felt I was always hungry, and maybe that's obviously part of a side effect or something, what they say, but I was always hungry with that.
Okay,
the RAD kind of helped
growth hormone release, so it would make that would make sense. No, I've heard a lot of people say they get headaches off of it and nausea off of it. So I've never, you know, SARMs personally, I was never really a fan of SARMs. No, I just that wasn't me. I tried one time. Man, what was
RAD or
MK2866?
Okay, and how was that?
I tried that one time, and I just
nothing.
You know, I was like, I mean, I literally just like, this sucks. I just stopped it. You know what I mean? It just wasn't. You know, it didn't. I didn't really feel anything. You know what I mean? And you know.
Some people are great on love the SARM, some people don't. So I don't know. We'll
no, the one thing I do see a lot of people is they get on the SARMs and they'll get big and then they'll just shrink. But it's the same thing with other things too. I think a lot of people have the mentality of they get on stuff, they train their ass off. And then when they get off stuff, I don't feel like going to the gym. I don't feel like training. I'm going to eat what I want to eat. You know what I mean? They
That's
get,
what happens all the time. All the time.
yeah, you know, I
Yeah.
think that's part of it. I could be wrong, but I think that's part of it because I see it.
All right.
I see that a lot.
All right, guys. Now we're going to talk about the peptide MOTS-C, very popular peptide too. Garrett, what is MOTS-C? What does it do? And tell me about it.
All right. So we talked in the past about NAD 500. Okay.
Yeah.
And if anybody remembers the conversation about NAD 500, MOTS is, again, it's an amino acid peptide. Okay. But it's mitochondrial derived. All right. So as we talked about mitochondria in the past with the NAD, plus, this is going to be a similar conversation, but a little bit different. What this does is this actually acts as the cellular level to regulate, okay, your metabolic flexibility. So I'm just going to run through a couple things here, just to basically make sense for people rather than talk over people's heads. Okay. So basically how it works. Okay. It's naturally released by mitochondria when the body is under metabolic stress. So that's a little bit different. Okay. Than changing, your DNA repair like NAD plus does. Okay. So when I say metabolic stress, I mean such as exercise, fasting, stuff like that. Okay. Sometimes people get confused and think like, oh man, me and my wife are fighting all the time. Is that's stress? No. I'm talking about different. You know what I mean? You're actually putting your body under metabolic stress. So, like I said, exercise, fasting, stuff like that. It communicates with the nucleus to direct stress adaptation and cellular balance. Okay. So that's different than a lot of other things. Okay. Now I'm going to get into dosing in a minute off of it because it seems like everybody doses this wrong. Everybody. Okay. So it boosts your metabolism. Okay. So that's number one. So basically it triggers the AMPK pathway, the body's master energy regulator, to burn fat and also utilize glucose efficiently. Okay. So that's a big difference. Okay. Than a lot of other things. It improves insulin sensitivity. We've talked about this before with other things. Okay. So it improves insulin sensitivity. It helps prevent or reverse insulin resistance. Okay. Especially in diet-induced obesity. So what that means is if you're a fat ass because you eat pure shit, this is going to, change your insulin sensitivity because of that. That's what it means, diet-induced obesity, not, it means because you eat shit and in return for it, you're fat. Enhances your endurance. Okay. It's been shown in studies to improve physical performance and muscle gain and retention. Okay. So basically homeostasis. Okay. Where a lot of things will enhance your endurance, and what it will also do is burn muscle. This won't. It also anti-aging. And what I mean by that is as you age, your natural levels of MOTS-C will decrease. Like we've talked about so many other things, NAD, GHK-Cu, all these things that are naturally occurring in your body. As you age, they decrease. So that's why it's important through, your natural levels declining, you supplement with this as your natural levels decline as you get older. They call it the exercise drug because it mimics exercise, but I don't call it the exercise drug because there's going to be something that I'm not going to get into yet, but we're going to talk about next week that is truly the exercise drug. Okay. So there's going to be something that we get into next week. Well, it's going to be next week's topic. Okay. That is truly the exercise mimicker. Okay. They refer this as that also, but I'm going to be totally honest with you. This was the precursor to what we're going to talk about next week. And what we talk about next week is the finished product compared to this was the beginner, the baby stages. You know what I mean? So I just wanted to preface it with that. Now, dosing on it.
Okay, dosing. Go ahead.
A lot of people with a lot of other peptides, they think, and I try to explain this to people all the time. Okay. It doesn't mean more is better. It doesn't mean you stay on just nonstop. You need a break with things. Like, for example, the GHKCU, which I've talked about in the past.
Mm-hmm.
You have to, if you're on that for 2 months, you have to then take time off. And the reason behind it is your receptors basically shut down to it, meaning they get used to it. Okay. If they get used to it, it's ineffective. Now, people think, oh, okay, well, I want to stay on for 6 months straight and then I'll get off for 6 months. That doesn't work like that, because if you stay on that long, it will lower the effects of future usage of it. So, with a lot of things, and that's the GHKCU I'm talking about right now, you've got, that's just an example. Now, with the MOTS-C is not an everyday injection. The MOTS-C is an every 5-day injection. Okay? So you take one injection every 5 days. Ideally, the way to do it, 5 milligrams every 5 days. So a lot of MOTS-C comes in bottles of 10 milligrams. And I try to explain to people, okay, that's two dosages of it. Okay, you'll do it every 5 days. That's a 10-day dose, basically. And that's a bottle right there. Okay?
Oh,
now,
wow.
you don't need a lot of bottles, because here's the way it works. You stay on the MOTS-C for 20 days. And you get off of it. It's short term. You get on it for 20 days. You then get off of it. You then get back on it. Okay? Now, there's clinical data out there that says you stay on for 20 days and then you stay off for 3 to 4 months. I tweak that a little bit. And again, this is just a suggestion. Okay. I tweak that a little bit and stay on for 20 days and then stay off for 20 days and then get on for 20 days and stay. So time on, time off.
Okay. All right.
You don't need 3-4 months off. Time on, time off. So if you're going to do it, listen, there's the belief out there that people, well, you can stay on MOTS-C for 8-12 weeks at a time. I'm not a fan of, because I think you're wasting your money and you're wasting your time doing that. 20 days on, 20 days off. I mean, you could even go to 28 days off. So if you want to take a month off, and then you get 20 days on again. Okay. But you don't stay on for more than 20 days. Okay. It's unlike NAD, where it's a cumulative effect into your body, where it builds up and it's restoring your natural NAD levels. This is different. This quickly spikes it, and then you have to let it level out.
Gotcha. All right. What about side effects?
What was that?
What about side effects? I heard it upsets stomach sometimes. Site injection irritation.
Some things say people will report upset stomach. Some people will report headaches.
Yes.
Nausea. But again, like with anything else, that's not anything that bad.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's not, I mean, if you're not shitting your pants or puking your brains out, it's no big deal, I guess. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Where do you inject? Where do you inject? Your stomach?
Same thing, stomach. Yeah. Like most of the other peptides, subcutaneous, so insulin needle. And just like the retatrutide, the semaglutide, the GHKCU, the Glow, all that, it's a subcutaneous injection into the abdomen.
Okay. And we had actually a question, but I think you answered some of it. I'm going to bring it up right now. And this question was from Tom P. from Hawthorne, New Jersey. And Tom P. says, can you stack MOTS-C with TRT or other peptides? Can I stay on it long term? You kind of answered that. But can
I
you
answered
stack
that's the long term part, but the other part, absolutely, you can stack MOTS-C with TRT or other peptides. And I'm glad that question was just asked, because it reminded me of one thing. Absolutely, you can stack that. Listen, TRT can be done with any type of peptide. That's not an issue. Okay. Second thing is, can you stack it with other peptides? Absolutely. One of the other peptides that it works fabulously with is SS-31. Okay, that we haven't gotten into yet, but we will in the future. Okay. That'll be in a couple weeks. We'll get into that also. But as far as the MOTS-C goes, if you are deficient in B, and I don't mean just B12, if you're deficient in B6, if you are deficient in vitamin B, the MOTS-C peptide will not be effective for you at all. So, and that's why when that question, I just went, oh yeah, that's right, I forgot to add that. So one of the big things is where people will take MOTS-C and I didn't get any effect from it. I didn't get anything off of it. I don't see anything. And 9 times out of 10, go ahead, get your B tested. I guarantee you're low. Now, I told you all the time, I take injectable, vitamin B because that's, B12, because I feel that's the only way it truly gets into your body. First of all, pills don't do that. So I never have to worry about that with anything. You know what I mean? My B I know is good. I recommend vitamin B12 to everybody. That's an important thing. But that's one of the things. If you're low in vitamin B, MOTS-C won't be nearly as effective for you. So I tell anybody out there, make sure your B levels are good. You know what I mean? And it's not, you can get a large 30 ml bottle of vitamin B. It's not like, just the little 10 ml bottles. All you need is, 1 shot of B a week. That's all. It's and if you're, listen, it's not going to, if you have too much vitamin B, like the same thing with vitamin C, you're just going to pee it out. That's it. You know what I'm saying? So
someone asked me, and I'm going to ask you, because I wasn't sure. He said, Joe, I got to take a shot of this peptide and then a shot of this peptide, and then I take my TRT, another shot. He said, can I put all of it all in one syringe and then just do it once? I'm like, I don't think so.
Absolutely not.
That's what I thought. I said, I don't think so.
Absolutely not, because they all don't interact properly with one another.
That's what I figured, but I was like, oh, yeah, that's a good question.
Yeah, that's why you don't want to do that, because you're going to do 2 things here that are bad. Number one, they don't all in the same syringe interact with one another. Yes. One can kill the property, another one if they're in the same syringe. Okay, that's the first thing. Okay, the second thing is, if you're going to be taking, let's say, GHKCU, you're going to draw that out. Okay. Then you're going to go with the same needle, because obviously you're loaded in the same needle. You're going to go draw out NAD. Then you're going to go draw out MOTS. And then you're going to go draw out retatrutide. So this way you can just take 1 shot, right? You're doing 2 things here. Number one, you're contaminating every single bottle. Okay. Because I don't care how good you are, a little bit of the previous bottle that you were just in is going to leak into the other bottle. You see what I'm trying to say? There's no way. I mean, what are you going to do? Even if you rub off, the needle that was in another product, you're going to stick it in there. And as you stick it in, there's going to be a little bit of leakage of the needle that automatically. So now think about something. Now, even if a drop, I'm talking 1 drop of NAD is now in your Reta, those properties don't mix together. Now it's sitting in that bottle. Do you see what I'm saying? So that's why I say no, absolutely not. The other problem you're going to do is, while you think it's easier to do that, it's really not, because now you're taking, let's say, 40 or 60 or 80 IUs of something. The chances of getting a nice big welt, bruise, lump, whatever you want to call it, in that injection site is going to be great then, because your body can't dissolve all that in 1 shot.
No.
So I would never, ever, I tell everybody, you take them individually. If you have to take, 10 IUs or 20 IUs or something, whatever the IUs is, take it all individually. Don't mix them. Don't mix them. It's not a good idea at all to mix them. It's the same thing with other things too. If you're trying just to save, like money on needles, or you don't want to take that many maybe that you shouldn't be using this stuff then. Do you know what I mean? That's what I tell people. Maybe you should, because you want to be smart about it all and safe with it all also,
Yeah. I have someone who I know who was taking, a test, and he was taking Winstrol also, saving on needles, saving on needles. And he did the Winstrol, and then he did his Winstrol, and then he went into the test spot, but a little bit of the Winstrol went into the test bottle, and it turned it from, how Winstrol's yellow, that milky color, turned his bottle test to like a milky color. I'm like, oh, that's not good, man.
Well, the other reason why that's not good is it's not like he's taken in 1 shot test and Primabol, where it's 2 oils. He's mixing a water base and an oil base in 1 needle. That's horrible.
And that's what he was doing.
Now, when he injects that in there, what's going to happen is that oil is going to, with the water, sit there like a rock, like a lump. Yeah, no, never. Never mix a water and an oil together. That doesn't. Oil and water doesn't work. That's really bad. Forget about contaminating his bottle. You don't want to do that in your own body. You know what I mean?
MOTS-C, can women take it also for women? Peptide?
Oh, absolutely.
Okay,
That's
just
one of
want to
those
make sure.
things like, listen, all these peptides are for women and men.
Women and men.
It's
Okay,
not
just want to
like,
get that then.
steroids or something like that where, there are some things with harmful effects for the peptides. Women or men across the board can take
Okay.
all of these because they're not anything hormonal where it's testosterone or it's going to have androgenic effects or it's going to deepen your voice or this or that. These are all, and you got to remember, most of these peptides, most of them are all naturally occurring in the human body, whether you're a man or you're a woman.
Gotcha. Okay.
So peptides. These peptides that we're talking about are every single week. Men, women, absolutely, they're phenomenal for.
And do all peptides have to be refrigerated?
Yes.
Not all of them do. Okay, so all of them do.
All of them.
All of them do.
Once they're mixed, reconstituted with the water, has to be refrigerated. Absolutely has to. Now, I go a step further.
Okay.
I keep all my peptides even in powder form in the refrigerator.
Oh, wow.
Okay. So I go one step further. I have all my peptides in a refrigerator, powder form, mixed, no matter what, they're in the refrigerator because I just think, it's going to preserve the life of them. It makes more sense. Okay. If it's going to eventually have to be mixed, keep them in the refrigerator the whole time. Keep them chilled. You know what I mean? You don't want to keep them frozen in the freezer, but you want to keep them chilled. So I keep everything in the refrigerator at all times, mixed or not mixed. And then, I think that's for safer keeping. I do the same thing with that with HGH though. I keep HGH refrigerated at all times, also mixed or not mixed. Okay.
Where do you rate MOTS-C on, let's say, 1 to 10, 10 being the best, 1 being the worst? Where do you rate MOTS-C as far as peptides? Because I'm sure there's the top 5. I always see it all around, top 5 peptides to take. I do, and I think always, NAD is up there with, the BPC 157 is always the top one. But where do you rate MOTS-C?
6.
6, okay.
If we're talking a 1 to 10 type range, 1 being the worst, 10 being the best, I would put it at a 6.
6, okay.
Yeah, it would be a little bit above average, a little bit better. Me personally, I prefer NAD over MOTS. That's me personally.
Okay.
So I would rate NAD higher. GHKCU I would rate higher. BPC. Well, BPC and the TB 500 is. Listen, for an injury, for repair, that's a 10. That's an off the charts. There's no, but that's specifically for that. I'm not saying take that all the time. But if you have an injury or something like that, oh man, no, BPC, TB all day long. There's nothing that even comes close to it at all. Okay.
Gotcha.
But MOTS, I would put at a 6. There's something we're going to, like I said, we're going to talk about next week that, man, it's a compound of 2 things. I don't want to give anything away, but it's a compound of 2 things that, to be totally honest, could be off the charts, could be a 10. Okay.
Gotcha. All right. I also want to talk to you quickly about the New York Mets, because I know you've dealt with the Mets team and you've done a lot with the Mets and how they're, you know a lot of the players, you've helped them out in the past. The Mets they may be the worst franchise, because how do you give Gary Carter's number out to a player that for a day, and then realize you gave him the number 8, which should be retired in Mets history, but it's not. How do you give? That's like the Yankees giving the number 3 to some guy they just pulled up in the minors. How does the Mets do that?
It's embarrassing right now, and we're talking embarrassing at a level right now that I can't even wrap my head around. Listen, I've seen a lot of, if you remember the 92 Mets, Bobby Bonilla putting earplugs in when he was getting booed, and Eddie Murray, and Brett Saberhagen spraying bleach on the reporters, Vince Coleman throwing a firecracker at the reporters. That was bad. Okay, that was bad. I've seen the 2003 Mets with Roger Cedeno and Jeremy Burnitz and all those guys who,
Grant Roberts.
I'm going to be blunt right here. I was around that team every single day. I was literally every single day. Every single day I was with them, okay? I've never seen a team care less than that team up till this year, okay?
Wow.
That team I was around every single day, and when I say the 2003 Mets, truly. No, 2002 or 2003. Hold on.
I think it was 2002, maybe. I'm not sure, but
it might have been the 2002 Mets. Yeah, I had to think for a minute. Wait a minute. It was either the 2002 or 2003 Mets.
Okay.
I was around them, both all the time.
Yes.
It might have been two, but one of those 2 years, I've never seen a team care like they literally would. I mean, they'd be making their plans in the dugout for where we're going to go afterwards, the game and this and that, and they didn't care. I mean, they could be losing, 10-0, and let's. I'm gonna, well, I didn't start today, so I'm gonna go take a shower now, or this way I'm ready for the. And they didn't care. They had no respect for. I mean, they just didn't care. They didn't give two shits. Okay, and it showed. Okay, it showed. They just they that was bad, but at the same time they had more talent than this Mets team.
Of course,
it's bad right now because of two things. I don't know if you saw last night. So the Mets lost 7-2 last night. Again, lifeless performance. They're down at the time, I think 6-0, 7-0, whatever the hell it was. I don't know. Juan Soto hits a 2-run homer. You're not even in the game. It's not like you were down 3-0 and now it's a 3-2 game. You're down. You're down 6-2, 7-2, whatever it is. He hits a 2-run homer. They start doing the lighting at the stadium, the flashing of the lighting and this and that. He comes into the dugout and all the Met players, they hand him the helmet. He wears that little hard hat helmet thing, and he starts dancing in the dugout, and they're all celebrating and jumping around. What are you celebrating? What you've lost now 6 in a row, 7 in a row, whatever it is. They lost 12 in a row a couple weeks ago. What are you celebrating? You're celebrating that you personally hit a 2-run homer. Okay, great. But you want to know something? They showed an interesting stat, and he's another one, Soto, who I'm fed up with. You got to see his numbers. You can look it up. Look at his numbers in games the Mets win compared to games the Mets lose. Okay? In games the Mets lose, he's hitting something like 336 with majority of his home runs and RBI. In games they win, I think he's hitting like 210 with a couple home runs. He's hitting garbage time. He basically, the Mets are down 8-0. So now the other team is just going, all right, we don't care. We're not going to pitch him carefully right now. We're just here. Hopefully he hits a fly ball to the outfield. I'd rather give up a home run on one pitch than pitch around him for 7 pitches. Do you see what I'm saying? That's what they're doing. They're trying to keep their pitch count down. That's pathetic. That's pathetic. That they're celebrating a home run last night when they're down. Sunday's game, which was ugly as hell. Okay. Sunday's game. Monday. No, it was. I'm sorry, Monday. It was the Memorial Day game. That's right. Monday afternoon. Keith Hernandez, who is my all-time favorite Met. Okay, I idolized him as a kid. Okay, when I was a little kid, I idolized Keith Hernandez. He went off on the Mets on Sunday. Okay, he's had enough. Okay, as he said, it's been 40 years. It's half his lifetime almost since they've won anything. He was part of the '86 World Championship team. Last night it was Ron Darling's turn, who was also part of the '86 championship team. And Ron Darling in the booth last night said, "This is an every night occurrence with this team. Bad fielding, bad base running, blunders doing this. That goes to the coaching." He goes that they wanted to clear the coaching staff this offseason and bring all new assistant coaches in, and they're just pathetic right now. They were much better with what they had last year. Okay. Yep. They look. I am so disgusted with this team. I have never, even when they were bad, I always had glimmers of, going into the season. Here's what I said to myself. All right, well, if they're going to suck, at least I've got Nolan McLean, who's going to be a superstar in the making. Nolan McLean now sucks. He's pure crap. Okay. Though it's contagious. The whole team sucks.
Yep, it is.
It's shameful at this point. And it's shameful that this is the 40-year anniversary of the last time the Mets won the World Series. 40-year anniversary. And it's been 40 years of pure hell. I'm not going to lie to you, because I have seen, you have no idea the crap that I've seen over the years with this team. And I'm not talking about just when I was with them. I'm talking about when as a fan, okay? Because again, I've been a fan of this team since I've been a little kid, a lifelong fan, okay? It's sad. It's sad.
Yeah, I mean, the papers up here obviously is very all Knicks right now. Everything's going on Knicks up here. Everything's all Knicks because they're doing great. But they're really ripping the Mets because of that whole thing with the number giving them Gary. Because Gary Carter was loved here in New York. The kid.
Oh yeah.
And you could arguably say he was one of the best catchers in Mets history, besides maybe Piazza, obviously.
Piazza. I would put Piazza at number 1. Gary Carter at number 2.
Yeah, I got. And they loved the kid Gary Carter here. So when they made that mistake, the papers up here just ripping the Mets for making it stupid.
As they should. I mean, you can't do that. You can't. I heard something, and I don't know if there's any truth to this, but I heard Steve Cohen, the owner of the Mets, who has put all this out there that he's a lifelong Mets fan. He grew up a Mets fan, this and that. There's been more and more rumors coming out lately. There's people that used to go with him to the games. They used to sit in the luxury boxes and stuff. He was a Yankee fan. It's his wife. Yes, it's his wife who's a Mets fan.
Oh, wow.
He married his wife, and this was almost a project for her. The guy's loaded. Hey, how about I buy the Mets? We can own the Mets. You always and he changed the narrative to I'm a lifelong Mets fan. And I'm hearing more and more of these rumors. I heard about it a little bit last year. It's been leaked out a lot this year. That a lot of people that knew him real well. I don't know what you're talking about. I used to be with him at Yankee games all the time. We used to have a box at the Yankees game. We used to be there all the time. He used to be a diehard Yankee fan. Then he kind of vanished for a few years, and he resurfaced as, I'm a lifelong Mets fan. I've been a Mets fan my whole life, blah, blah, blah. And I'm going to be honest, I can see it now, because how can you, as an owner, your GM, anybody in the organization, not realize number 8, that's Gary Carter. You don't give that number out.
No.
Somebody either from ownership. Listen, I don't care. Listen, I'm not saying the GM. That was the GM. Listen, I have a lot of problems with the GM, David Stearns. A lot of problems with him. Okay, and I think he should be gone. He should be gone. His job should be yes.
100%.
He needs to go. Carlos Mendoza, unfortunately, needs to go also. Okay, because he's lost the team. It's clear. Okay, Mendoza needs to go. Stearns needs to go. But you can't say Stearns' job is, oh, that's Gary Carter's number. Remember, David Stearns, even though he claims he was a Met fan also, he was the Brewers GM. It's a job to him, okay? It's a job. He might not truly have to have his finger on the pulse of, oh, that was Gary Carter's number. Carlos Mendoza came from the Yankees organization. It's not his job to say, oh, that's Gary Carter's number. That's somewhere in the organization or the owner's job. Okay. Do you think, how about this one? I got a better one for you. And I'm not comparing the two because they're not the same. But do you think for 1 minute Robert Kraft would ever let another player wear number 12?
Of course not.
Now, let's say Elliot Wolf, the GM of the Patriots, or Mike Vrabel, the coach of the Patriots, just kind of lost and said, hey, yeah, okay, you wear 12. Not thinking, not whatever. Whatever's going on, Kraft would immediately, oh, are you nuts? Nobody wears number 12. That's ultimately falls on Steve Cohen to step in and go, whoa, I grew up a Met fan my whole life. That's Gary Cohen. That's Gary Carter's number. And for that to fall through the cracks, that's shameful. Ron Darling had something to say about it. Keith Hernandez had something to say about it. They weren't happy either, okay? They weren't happy about it either. And at this point, this organization, Steve Cohen seems more concerned about his casino. You know all about that he's building, okay? He's more concerned about that than he seems about the Mets. This team, at this point, I would do a total fire sale. Freddie Peralta. I'd put Juan Soto on the chopping block and turn around and say, listen, he can be had. He can be had. We're looking to rebuild. We will even chip in. We will agree to pay part of his salary. Okay. Well, yeah, he's going to be here he's got a 15-year contract, but we will chip in because we want to do a complete rebuild. Okay. And what I would do is pure youth. Okay. Let me ask you, how can the Florida Marlins be better than the Mets? How can the Tampa Bay Rays be so good? Okay. These are all small market teams that spend no money whatsoever. Okay. But let me tell you something. The Rays, and it's not, people used to say all the time, well, it's because Joe Madden is such a good coach. No, they continue to do it. Look at them this year, okay? The Rays are the perfect example of a small market team that continues to either win or always be in contention, okay?
Mhm.
If they can, how about the Oakland A's? They're in first place.
Yep.
I mean, there's another example of a small. How about the Pittsburgh Pirates? How well they're playing this year.
Yep, exactly.
How about the St. Louis Cardinals, a team that completely ripped their team apart to go into a total youth rebuild? And look, I think they're in second place right now.
Yep.
But the Mets, who have the second highest payroll in baseball, only to the LA Dodgers, are in the cellar in the NL East and one of the worst records in Major League Baseball, probably on their way to the worst record in Major League Baseball. And I don't want to hear anybody say it's injuries, because let me tell you something. Luis Robert in center field, Francisco Alvarez catching, all these guys that are injured right now, okay? And they have a lot of injuries. Francisco Lindor, they have a lot of injuries. But you know what? They sucked with those guys too.
Yep. You know, I think one of the biggest mistakes the Mets made, who I thought was really the one that I was hoping we would get him with, Pete Alonso was obvious. You know, I loved him. He was a great player, and them letting him go was huge. They should have kept him.
Mistake. I mean, you know, I'm gonna throw three of them out there: Alonso, Brandon Nimmo,
Diaz,
Jeff McNeil. And here's what the Mets didn't realize: they were great players, but it was more about them just being great players. It was what they contributed to the team and in the locker room.
Yes.
100%. They were true leaders. All those guys were veteran leaders, and the Mets jettisoned them all. Okay. You know, Alonso, they basically didn't even make an offer to, and just see ya, bye.
Yeah, which is ridiculous.
They made sure they traded away. They took the heart of that team, and let me tell you, all three of those players had heart. They were the heart of that team. They took the heart of that team and they flushed it down the toilet. And this team that I'm looking at right now, they have zero heart. It's sad. They have the only thing that this team is a worse level of the 92 Mets, and either it was the 2002 or 2003 Mets. I just can't remember what year it was. I think 2002 though. That's the only thing worse than you know, this year. Okay. And because and I listen, that we'll say the 2002 team. That team with Roger and Jeremy Burnitz and all those guys that, you know, I was around all the time, Grant Roberts and all those guys. They didn't care, man. Move on. Mo Vaughn was on that team. Okay.
Yeah.
So it might have been 2003. Okay. It was either 2 or 3. I just can't remember. And Mo Vaughn was on that team. And Mo Vaughn, all he cared about, he would hit his mammoth home run. Okay. Oh, great. The Mets were down 9-1. Now they lost 9-2. Great. And Mo Vaughn would, you know, I homered again tonight. You know what I mean? And then Mo Vaughn would be quick to get his ass to scores and sit in the VIP and eat nothing but fried appetizers all night long. That's what he would do. He would go, you know, he would go to Scores. And people wondered why he was so fat. Okay. He would go to Scores every single night. He had his own booth in Scores. Okay. And he would go to Scores every night. And while other players, Roger, for example, Roger would fall down drunk every single night. I mean, you have no idea. I remember going with him one time. It was a regular club. I forget what the club was. He had just gotten, literally picked it up the day before, a brand new $260,000 Aston Martin. You might know the story.
I remember the car because I remember being with you in the car.
Yes,
I remember being in the car. I think it was like a green color, maybe, or something like a green, or it was a dark color.
Yep, it was almost like a metallic green, and it had the little touch sensors in here, like
yes,
a spaceship inside. You didn't have to use anything. So, and I remember he had just picked it up the day before, okay? And he couldn't wait to go out with this thing, okay? And we were going out somewhere in the city, and it was me and him, and we go to somewhere, and he gets, I mean, literally, I had to help him out of the place. He couldn't even stand up, okay? And, you know, I turned to him, I go, listen, I go, we you know, he drove, you know, and I said, we're going to leave your car here. We're going to take a taxi or a limo, or whatever you want to do, back by you, and we'll get the car tomorrow. I am not leaving the car here overnight. No way. No. I drive. I go, no way. Okay, you drive. I did not want to drive a day-old $260,000 Aston Martin through the streets of New York. Okay?
Yeah.
I just
Especially at
didn't.
nighttime, because you can't see at night. You can't see. You can't see at night. I know that for a fact. So
I'm like this when I'm driving.
you're like you can't. You have bad eyes. Yeah.
Yeah.
So.
So I can't see. So there we are at night, driving through the streets of New York, and it's raining at this point.
Oh,
in his $260,000 Aston Martin, and I kid you not, we come up to a light, and when we come up to the light, he looks at me. He goes, "Come on, floor it." And I go, "No." He goes, "Open it up, feel the power." And I go, "Roger, you know, I'm gonna putt through the streets right now at 30 miles an hour, and I'm fine with that. Okay, not with this thing." And I never forget. He's drunk. He goes like this. He reaches over with his leg and presses down on the gas as soon as the light turns green. And we went from 0 to about 90, okay, in a block. This thing was, and I grabbed his pants and I ripped his leg off. And I, just slow it. I go, "Don't do that again. Come on, open it up. Feel it. Come on. He just was it didn't matter to him. And I'm sitting here going, "Bro, this is a $260,000 car. If you mess it up, if you this, if you that, whatever." So we get back by him, and this was in Long Island City, and we get back by him, and I go to back it in. We're in the underground parking garage at his place, okay? And I go to back it in, and it was this high rise on the water that he lived, okay? And I go to back it, and he goes, "No, just pull straight in. And it's dark. I can't see. It's raining. And there was the little lip to the thing in front, and you hear, and I look at him, I go, "That's why I wanted to back in." So he goes, "Oh, just pull back a little bit." So I pull back and the bumper pulls.
Oh, no.
So he looks at me. God. We get out of the car. He looks at it. He goes, "No big deal. I call tomorrow. I take care of it." It didn't matter. And that was you understand something. That was a 3-year, $18.5 million contract he just signed. It's nothing like the money these days where guys are signing $90, $100, $140 million contract. That was a 3-year, $18.5 million contract. And he acted like that with money and stuff like that. And it just didn't matter.
Crazy. That's
crazy.
Crazy.
I never forget that. And but he would get. But Mo Vaughn's thing was he would go to Scores every single night, and he would post up in the VIP area, and he would have. I mean, they just kept on bringing it to him. Platters of chicken wings, fried mozzarella sticks, the stuffed baked potato thing, potato skins. You name the crap, and Mo Vaughn would just be stuffing it in his face. So where you had Roger getting drunk all the time, Mo Vaughn was just, he would eat the worst shit you've ever seen. And then he'd wonder, "Well, what can I do to slim down a little bit? How about you don't eat all that crap, man?"
Exactly.
He was well over 300 pounds. You know what I'm saying? It was.
Yeah. You know what they were saying too, that the Mets, that probably most of the players on the team of the Mets right now probably don't even know who Gary Carter is.
You're right.
Probably don't even know. They're like, "Gary, who's Gary Carter?"
There's a whole generation of Mets. They don't know. They don't know about the '86 team. They don't know Keith Hernandez was a former player up in the booth. They don't know Ron Darling was a former player up in the booth.
No.
They think they're just announcers. Okay? Yeah. They don't get it. They don't understand. And you're right. You probably say Gary Carter to them, and they go, "Who was that?"
Yeah.
Well, I don't know who that was. He was a former Mets catcher. Oh, okay. They don't know. You know what? I hate to say it, but some of these Met players, they might not even know who Mike Piazza was.
You're probably right. They definitely can't name 3 people on the '86 winning team. They probably can't.
Who, the players?
Yeah, the players. If you say
Not
name 80, say name 3 players from the last championship.
They probably would, if they were asked, I'd say majority of them would say Darryl Strawberry. And the reason why I say that is because Strawberry's been around the team a lot lately. Okay.
Yeah.
Retiring his number, he's been around a lot lately. So a lot of them might go, "Oh, Darryl Strawberry." If they press them past that, they'll probably be like, I don't know. I have no idea.
Yep,
And that's
100%.
sad. But
That's
you know
really
what?
sad.
I don't put that on the players because I remember you go back to, the early 2000 Mets. None of them knew about former Mets or this or that, or because Roger used to ask me things all the time. What about this? What about this? I heard about this player. What did he do? Did he play for the Mets? And I would fill him in all the time on things because he didn't know about a lot of stuff. Which just brings me real quick to that year's team, okay? And real funny story here, okay? Do you remember Roberto Alomar?
Sure.
Okay. So he was the brother of Sandy Alomar Jr. and the son of Sandy Alomar. And Roberto Alomar was real arrogant. Okay. I mean, real. He was arrogant. Okay. And he played for the Mets at the time, and Roger played for the Mets, and it was in the first inning. Okay. And famous. There's a great story. I could see it. I saw the whole thing unfold. Him and Roger literally go at each other in the dugout, grab each other by the shirts, about to throw punches, have to be broken up completely. Alomar pushed up against the dugout wall. Roger dragged down into the dugout. I mean, it was bad. Screaming, cursing. It was bad. All in Spanish. Okay. Really bad. What was that about? Did one of them sleep with the other's wife? Did the other what? I mean, it was bad. Okay. Me, a little while later, Roger, what was going on? What's that about? Okay. Oh, I had his rookie card, and I said he looked like a monocone in the rookie card.
Which is a bad word in Spanish.
And I go, and he goes, and he got very, very mad. And he said he was going to kill me now. And I said, you can't kill me. Go ahead and try. And that's what the whole fight was over.
Oh,
and
my
I said,
God.
So you're telling me that whole thing was over a baseball card and you making he goes, do you want to see the card, what he looks like? And I go, no, I could.
Oh my God, that's crazy.
So that's
Unbelievable.
That's where their heads were at. I mean, just to give you an idea, when people and it's sad because they're making this money and that's what they're fighting about. What they look like on cards and this and that. I mean, it was just, and I just remember that was such a mess with the whole team. And then you had other players. You have players running around on their girlfriends and their wives. That's always famous. You know that. But that team, you had girlfriends and wives running around on the players. That was one of the most oddball things I have ever seen in my life, or better yet, okay. And here's a true story, okay. So one time in the stands, and I remember there's a reason why Roger's ex-wife Thais never liked going to the games, because Roger had his fangirls at the games also. And Roger used to like all the time, I get you tickets. I leave you tickets at the will call, okay? You leave. So one time I'm there at the game with Roger's wife, Thais, Roger's wife's girlfriend, okay? And the baby, okay? Okay. We're there. Okay, it was a Sunday afternoon game. I'm almost sure of it. Okay, this is the last time Thais ever went to a game that I knew of.
Okay.
And sitting 4 rows over. Okay, this is right behind, the dugout. 4 rows over. You hear 2 girls talking. Well, yeah, I mean, Roger got me these tickets. That's how I got you. Brought you today was her and her girlfriend. We're going to go out and party afterwards. Blah, 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 blah. And she's talking about all. I hear this plain as day. His wife hears this plain as day. Okay. She keeps talking about what they're going to do and this and that and all that. And you hear the girlfriend go, well, where did you meet him? And she goes, it was at another, I forget where it was, but another strip club. And he met her so she was a stripper, and he met her that night and this and that. And it was great. He stayed until closing, and then him and I, we rented a room or whatever she said. I can't remember at the time. Obviously, they didn't go back to his place, but they went, whatever it was, and we spent the night together and blah, blah, blah. And, but isn't he married? Yeah, but his wife doesn't have a clue. And she's next to me listening to this whole thing.
Okay.
Through this whole thing.
Mm-hmm.
You want to talk about uncomfortable? Okay.
Yeah, I'm sure that was uncomfortable,
And all she said to me after the game was, can you catch a ride with Roger? Wherever you're going to go, this, that, whatever. I'm not going to wait afterwards. Just if you catch a ride with Roger, you guys go do whatever you want. I just want to go home. Also, could you do me a favor? He wants the baby, Michelle, to go to the games in the future. If you don't mind bringing her to the games when you can, pick her up, because I won't ever go again.
And she was a nice girl, Tace. Really nice. I remember her. I met her a few times. She's really nice. Mm-hmm.
Yep. And they, so, there was a lot, but that's what they cared about. They cared more about that than they cared about playing the games. And, you're going to understand, I was torn because I'm sitting there going, bro, you're sucking. 2 years ago, this team was in the World Series. Mm-hmm. Now you're a laughing stock. You know what I mean? And Bobby Valentine was feeling the pressure because Bobby Valentine was the manager. He was getting pressure from Steve Phillips. Yep. Steve Phillips was getting pressure. But then again, nobody knew what was going on because Steve Phillips, if you remember, he was banging his young intern the whole time. So he had his whole thing going on that he was banging his young intern this entire time. So that whole thing was it. Listen, the Mets, it's funny. So early on, before the season or the beginning of the season, Danhausen, who has famously cursed every team the Knicks have played, cursed the Mets. Okay, he cursed the Mets. Did he? And I believe his curse.
That's right.
But the only problem I have is this. Danhausen didn't curse them for the last 40 years, okay? This team, since 1986 was the last time they truly did anything, okay? 1987, I was a little kid. The collapse of 87, I'll never forget that. Then you had 88. The Mets were a playoff team. The Mets should have won the World Series that year. They lose in 7 to the Dodgers, okay? Oral Hershiser, Mike Scioscia, all that. Then the Mets
2000, you were in the World Series. 2000, you were in the World Series against the Yankees.
They were against the Yankees, and that was a great Met team, in my opinion. That 1999 team was even better than the 2000 team, but they just couldn't put it together. They lost in the playoffs to the Braves. That was fun. I remember the Robin Ventura grand slam home run, and Roger was on that team, and that was a fun team to be around. That team truly was fun to be around. 2000, they went to the World Series. Again, that was fun to be around, okay? 2001, they almost caught Magic after 9/11, if you remember. Yep. They almost caught Magic. They didn't, but they almost did. So then you look, the next time they go is the Mets should have been in the World Series in 2006 if Carlos Beltran didn't stand there with the bat on his shoulder and look at strike 3 against St. Louis. Okay. Yep. Then you flash forward to 2015. Okay. The Dark Knight, Paul Harvey. All those guys, Jacob deGrom, Noah Syndergaard, that Mets team that came out of nowhere, that had heart. And that team went to the World Series and lost to the Royals, okay? And since 2015, it's been a joke.
100%.
And you know what? I'm fed up with, 1986, and I had to wait 14 years until they go to the World Series again, but they lost. And then I got to wait 15 years for them to go to the World Series again. But they lost. So right now we're on pace that the Mets should make the World Series in 2029 or 2030. Okay? I'm just over it. It's so it's so disenchanting. It's so depressing. And you know what? It's not just Keith Hernandez, Ron Darling. They're sick of it too. They're bashing him on TV. And you know what? I'm not going to lie to you. On Monday, Memorial Day game, okay, when Keith Hernandez went into a tirade towards the end of the game, okay, in my living room, okay, I stood up and I started clapping. Because he said what every Met fan was thinking.
Yep. All right.
And I stood up and I started clapping because honestly, I sat there and I went, man, he said what every Met fan wants to say,
Yep, 100%. All right, Garrett, we got to run here. Guys, subscribe. We're going to have more Peptide Talk next week. Garrett, where can they find you? Your Instagram and your
Pope Training Instagram. It's right up in there. Pope Training and Instagram. It's all one word. Plain, nice and easy.
All right. Like, subscribe, guys. I will see you guys next week, Garrett. I'll talk to you soon. You got it, bro. All right, man.
Started from nothing. Jersey streets, we own